Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS slate breakdown for Friday, August 30th. We have made it. We're to the end of the summer. We got Labor Day weekend here, and once again, we will be breaking down today's 10-game MLB DFS main slate. A lot to go over. There are some very interesting situations, some interesting matchups. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and this video helps us a ton. Just give away more content, and we got football season next week. College football has started. NFL starts next week. We have our full allotment of NFL shows coming down the pipe starting on Tuesday, and we also have the DFS shows that I will be going over for NFL. I'm going to do as many baseball shows as I can during the start of NFL here, but like last year, if those Monday and Thursday baseball show views just really fall off, I'm going to just have to stop doing that and focus more on NFL. But if the views stay up, then I will be doing both. So that's on you guys. Sorry. It's just how it is. Now, let's get into the slate. As always, come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to everything we do. Now, I'm going to skip the review. We only had 4 games yesterday, and we got a lot to go over today. So let's just dive in and get into it. All right, so we got Tyler Wiemann, highest owned, 27% owned, and I think that's kind of wrong. However, he's versus a very bad Chicago White Sox team, and if that's the case, you can pretty much throw out anybody versus them. Now, I do have to say the White Sox been hitting a little bit better versus righties lately. 255 average, 147 ISO, 310 WOBA, so they're still terrible, but they have been that much better. All in all, I'm not here. I can't go to Tyler Wiemann at high ownership when he's averaging 88% less fantasy points away. I'm out. I mean, I get it if you want to go there. It's the White Sox, but they're still MLB hitters, and McGill just hasn't been good. Next, we got Pablo Lopez versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays have been hitting decently lately. Lopez is 8.6K, so way far down from the beginning of the season where he was pushing 10K. I think it's an interesting spot. I personally am a little worried about this Toronto offense. They have been hitting decently lately. 231 ISO with a 338 WOBA over the last 20 games versus righties. Hitting the ball hard, getting on base. They're scoring some runs. Don't love going against that. Now, Lopez has been solid. 3.7 FIP over his last 20, 3.85 over his last 5. The one worry is the last 5, his K rate's 21%. His last 20, the K rate's 25.6. Now you're going against a Toronto team that doesn't strike out a lot. So there's just so much conflicting stuff in this matchup. It's really hard to kind of break down and figure out how you want to play it. Personally, I think Lopez is fine. I'll get to a little bit of him. We have him at 2.4x, so he is a good value projection-wise. I just worry about his ceiling in this matchup. I don't think he's getting 9 strikeouts. I don't think he's getting 34. I think he can get mid-20s. And that could be good enough today, but I don't absolutely, love the spot for him. He is higher ownership, so do with that information what you will. Next, we got Blake Snell. All right, this dude has just been absolutely unhittable lately. 2.64 FIP over his last 20, 2.16 over his last 5 with a 38% K rate. He is striking out everybody, and I like the spot for him. I don't mind going back to him. The one thing with Snell that you always have to worry about is the fact that he can get a little wild and let guys on base. 4.3 walks per 9 over his last 5. That is scary. That is the one way he doesn't get there. And always, because of that, I don't mind stacking some Miami versus him, but I love this spot for Blake Snell, and I'm going to have a lot of Blake Snell. He is one of my favorite pitchers on this slate. We got him at 2.6x. We obviously like him a lot too. and I'm going to be going back. I do have to bring up the fact that over the last 20 games versus lefties, Miami is hitting 279. They have a 273 ISO and a 379 WOBA. They have actually been a solid offense as of late. I still don't think they're that good of an offense. I think they've just been hot, but Blake Snell is just a different pitcher than what they've seen lately, and I don't mind going to some Blake Snell against the hot offense. Give me some Snell at a little bit lower ownership. Next, we got George Kirby versus the Angels, who have been awful versus righties. 195 average, 128 ISO, 266 WOBA. These are some Chicago White Sox type numbers. Those are numbers that they should only win 30 games this year, or 60 games. But George Kirby, we know he is a very solid pitcher. However, over his last 5.46 FIP, 18% K rate, that's just not going to cut it. He's also allowed a decent amount of stolen bases. So it is a little bit of a scary spot. Now, the offense over those 5, yes, he faced Boston, tough offense. But Detroit twice, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, not world beaters here. So I am a little worried about his form right now, but a great matchup. So it's another spot where we have some conflicting things coming in here, and we got to figure out how we want to attack it. I think Kirby, on his full body of work, the last couple of years, I love starting him in this situation. But his last 5 starts, it's a little sketchy to click it. I don't mind having some. We are in Angel Stadium. He is worse away, 27% less fantasy points away. He doesn't just have the K upside that he does when he's at home. So that is one worry there. Next, we got Framber Valdez. Valdez is back to being a stud pitcher. He's 3.35 FIP over his last 20. FIP of 2 over his last 5. The thing that's crazy to me is he has a 33% K rate over that span. This is not a guy that strikes out a ton of guys, but over the last 7-8 starts, he's been striking out a ton of people. I like it. I'm absolutely in on going with some Framber. The Royals, while they have been a good offense, aren't great versus lefties and are way worse when they are away. Framber is better at home. I like the spot for him, even though over the last 20 games for the Royals versus lefties, hitting 286, 238 ISO, 355 WOBA. They have been good versus lefties in the short term. I don't care. I'm going Framber. I like the spot for him. He is definitely one of my favorite spots today. John Gray, 6,700. Just no clue what you're going to get from him start to start. He can go 80 pitches, pitch great, then go 53 pitches and get blown up. Or go 20, go 678, go 77. I would say most of the time he's in the 70 pitches. He's in an okay spot versus Oakland, but it is so hard to trust him. If you want to go with a very small portion of your portfolio on John Gray, fine. He does have the ceiling to make it work, but it's doubtful. Kevin Gausman versus Minnesota Twins. Gausman just came out and pitched absolutely lights out last time out. This is a very tough spot for him, though. This Twins offense is good versus righties, and they have crushed him in the past. 64 plate attempts. They're hitting 377 off of him with 302 ISO, a 480 WOBA. It's not a great spot. He got crushed versus them earlier in the year. He got hit decently versus them a couple times last year. I think it's a little bit of a tough spot for Gausman. I don't love going there, but Gausman can pitch amazing. Just we haven't seen too much of it so far this year. Marcus Stroman, 3.86 FIP over his last 5 starts, so that is at least going for him, but this Cardinals team is hitting decently lately. Ben Lively versus the Pirates. He has a pretty high FIP, and his price for me is a little too high, so I'm out. Zach Gallen. I'm actually interested in Gallen. He's going super low owned. He's in a very tough spot versus the Dodgers, but he's back to pitching very, very well. 3.34 FIP over his last 20, but a 2.69 FIP over his last 5. The one thing with Gallen is he doesn't have a super high K rate, so upside is a little limited, but he's only 8.4. He is not the 10K guy that we know he is at times. And he can shut out anybody. He's had a good history versus the Dodgers. 111 plate attempts. They're only hitting 220 off him. He has had some real high highs. However, they haven't happened for 2 years. So that is the one worry. This Dodgers team is a little different. Ohtani really changed this team. They are insane at hitting the ball. But I don't mind a little bit of super low-owned Gallen. He's very, very good pitcher. Seth Lugo versus the Astros. He is 20% better when he's away. Lugo has been a solid pitcher. My one worry is Lugo doesn't have giant upside in the strikeout department. Now he is facing a team that doesn't strike out much and has hit him well in the past. It's a little bit of tough option to click him. I am personally not really going there. And Kershaw, lefty versus Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks aren't that great versus lefties, so I think Kershaw is absolutely in play today. The worry here is he's only going like 80, 85 pitches. Maybe he gets to 90 if he really gets it going. And I'm a little bit interested in Kershaw here, but I'm not going to go overboard on him. He is going super low owned. I think he can get you that mid-20s, which you're probably going to need. And I don't mind it. Don't mind it at all. And we're going to just kind of skip everybody else here. Not really feeling them. So let's get over to FanDuel and see what we got. All right, highest owned on FanDuel. We got Blake Snell. I think he should be. He is in a good spot. I don't mind going there. He is pricey, but I like it. Kirby at 9.4K. You're getting a big discount on him, but he is 11 points lower projected, 8 points on the consensus. I think you probably just should pay up for Snell in that situation. Valdez, 11K. I am interested in him at much lower ownership. We know while Snell is an amazing pitcher, he can struggle to work deep into games at times. You don't get that quality start in FanDuel, and it's a big bummer. So kind of interested in some Framber. Don't love Pablo Lopez, but slightly interested in him. And at 7.7K, I think Kershaw is actually a very interesting spot. I don't mind going to him. Super low owned. He can get it done. He can be efficient. He can go 6 innings on 85 pitches. So I think it's an interesting spot, and I don't mind sprinkling in some good old Kershaw here. So let's go over to Stack Attacks now, see what we can drug up. It is a Colorado slate, and it is a Baltimore Colorado slate. So we know Baltimore is going to be high owned. It's an interesting one. They're 2.5 points higher than anybody as far as a game total. So, highest ownership on this slate, we got Baltimore versus Austin Gomber. Gomber's not great. Colorado bullpen's not great. Baltimore's a good offense. Makes sense to want to go with them. Mets are popping up versus Jonathan Cannon. Look, Cannon's not great. 5.84 FIP over his last 5. 4.7 over his last 20. The bullpen behind him is terrible. Mets have been hitting well. Makes a lot of sense to want to go there. I just don't love going the Mets at high ownership. That is my one worry. Now, 60% ownership, 70% ownership is not enough where I'd totally fade him just because of ownership. Now, our highest projected stacks, we got the Dodgers, we got Baltimore, we got the Yankees. Dodgers versus Gallen. Over the last 2 seasons, they have been able to get to Gallen a little bit. So I don't mind some Dodgers, but I'm not going to go hard on them. Yankees versus Eric Fedde. Fedde has shown some upside, but Yankees are hot, so it makes some sense. I do think they're probably going maybe a little over projected, though. Baltimore, we talked about, they're obviously in a smash spot. And value-wise, if Tyler McGill stays high owned, White Sox are a very interesting value leverage play. So definitely considering some White Sox in this spot. I'm not going to go overboard on them, though, as they are still a 30-win White Sox team. Highest ceiling, we got Yankees versus Eric Fetty, Houston, and then Diamondbacks versus Kershaw. Kershaw is a 4.25 FIP over his last 20 starts. He is not the absolute stud that he used to be, but he is still a very solid pitcher, and he has a 3.19 FIP over his last 5. If you want to go some Diamondbacks, you can. They're super low owned, and that offense has been clicking, so it makes some sense to go there. Lastly, let's click the teams to see what we got. Our highest implied total is Baltimore. It's absolutely no surprise there that they are that high. 6.1 is high. Colorado at 5.4 versus Albert Suarez. 3.79 FIP over his last 5 and 3.94 over his last 20. He has been a decent pitcher, but you got Colorado elevation. Next, you got Mets versus Jonathan Cannon. Makes some sense. Cleveland versus Bailey Falter. Falter's been decent. 4.08 FIP over his last 20. 3.4 over his last 5. But high average exit velocity, high hard contact rate, bad bullpen behind him. Makes Cleveland interesting. Then you got Yankees, you got Seattle, and the Dodgers. So now anything down here, the 4.6 under implied total wise is going to be very low owned. So you're getting some leverage on the field with them. There are definitely some spots that make sense as far as, poor bullpens or bats or, pitchers that are volatile. Like John Gray, he can get crushed. The bullpen behind him is bad. Oakland is going to be super low owned. Makes some sense to want to go there. I do have to warn you, though, that John Gray can also be good. So do with that information what you will. Toggle through the app. Figure out some spots that you may love. Go through the matchups tools. And good luck to all of you. Good luck this weekend. I will be back on Tuesday for the baseball show. And I believe we will also be dropping some underdog props that day as well. Anyways, underdog for NFL, that is. That'll do it for us today, guys. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye.